Are sex robots going to take over the world? Do they deserve human rights? And are magic mushrooms even that bad for you?
All this and more on this edition of the Weekly Bazaar.
Welcome, everybody, to our first edition. It's going to be a weekly show of the Weekly Bazaar. We're going to be bringing you stories that you're not going to see in the headlines, but stories that deserve to be told. I'm Alex, and I'm joined with my trusty co-host and transatlantic pod buddy, Garrett.
Howdy, y'all.
I'm so glad we're doing a show together. This has been so longly awaited, and what a great way to do it, discussing news that's just so bizarre it's not even told on Fox News.
You know, just being able to sit down and finally do a project with you, I think is going to be is just dandy with me. We've known each other for how long now?
Almost a year. Nearly a year. Yeah, nearly a year. And you know, onwards, we've grown together, and this is our opportunity to break out and do something together. And we've decided weekly we're going to bring you a few stories, some my side, the UK side, and some US side, and talk about these bizarre stories because they don't get picked up by the media, do they? You know.
So about that, some of the articles that I got have websites that end with .uk.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure they can forgive us on our first show.
They were found on a phone that's located in the U.S.
Well, you know what?
Counts for anything?
Yeah. Well, and one of my stories is actually about something technological, so I'm pretty sure it's not UK based. So, let's go into it, shall we? And you may have heard from the intro that I started talking about sex robots. Now, look, this is an industry that's growing like nobody's business, and it's because we're all a bunch of filthy fucking perverts, right? And it's just blowing my mind at how quickly it is growing. And there's a guy called Sergey Santos who's trying to bring people affordable AI sex dolls, and it's throwing people off completely. Have you heard about all this?
I have slightly seen some stuff through my internet browsing habits where that you see these really realistic looking females, and I think it's something that is really big in the Japanese market.
Yeah, I get that as well.
I think
she's so tall.
I think I've sent you photos of different apparatus that the Japanese are developing to increase the immersiveness of specifically virtual or VR porn, and different machinery that you can stick your dick in that will rub you off automatically, and there's a VR headset that will feed you, and it's got an arm attached to it, so you're seeing this girl feed you, but it's actually this robot arm that's feeding you.
It's crazy. They're creating robotic arms, and you've got two. Unless you're handicapped, you've got two at the end of you've got hands here that you can use yourself. They're free.
Yeah,
they're free, buddy.
That takes away from the stimulus of having something brought to your mouth without your direct input. I don't know.
I could just imagine this robot arm just going out of control and just splat, 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 hit this guy in the chin with a spoon.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, because this is all taking off, Sergey is looking for applications for where to make money, and yeah, it's going everywhere at the moment, and he's got bases in the UK, in the US, everywhere. This guy, and there was a guy actually went on to it's a show called This Morning. It's big over here in the UK, with his Samantha doll on the couch, and he, on live TV, was discussing on how it's normal. And everybody was like, dude, that's not normal. I felt so mortified for the guy because he was so in belief of what he was doing. He had no convictions about what he was doing, but everybody was kind of like, dude. And so they're coming up with ideas some of them are pretty fucking horrific. Like the as sinister as it gets. They're actually doing a documentary on BBC Three, which you can get on the internet, and it's done by Noel Sharkey. You may have seen him on Robot Wars over here in the UK. He's from the Foundation of Responsible Robotics, and they were talking about making. Oh, I can't believe I'm going to say this on that first show as well. Child-sized sex dolls for perverts to stop them from acting upon their impulses. This is how fucked up the sex robot industry is getting. They're looking at ways of making money off the most perverted people, and that makes me sick. I think they're banned at the moment. You can't do that at the moment. They're saying you can't. It's going to encourage it. It's not going to, repulse it at all.
Oh yeah,
and
that's if anything, that's just going to give the pedophiles more like courage. I mean, they're going to work out their fantasies, and then they'll build up the courage to actually go out and victimize some kid.
And you know what? They've already got brothels with these things, and they've got like a place where you can go and have sex with these robots. It's unbelievable how quickly it's taken on. And they were in this article I was reading, they quite regularly have to fix these robots because people like tear their fingers off and break them and like rip their heads off and shit. Like, people like they're getting to. It's almost like a mixture of Westworld and Altered Carbon, program where
and
you can just
bit of Hostile. It sounds like.
Yeah, so you can be the worst that you can be with these machines, and nobody bats an eyelid. And they were also looking at putting these things in nursing homes, like just sticking one in the room with Grandpa Joe, so that when you disappear,
I wish you could see my face right now.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe's gonna have a whale of time. Grandpa Joe can't get it up. He's not gonna get up for a real woman. He's gonna get up for Samantha, the bot.
God. My God.
This guy, Sir Guy, is saying that for these things to be used in brothels and things like that, it's completely fine. These things, all the bits can be taken out and cleaned. But I'd struggle with the idea of sticking my penis inside a woman that another guy's been. That I know, never mind a robot. You know what I mean? I don't care if you can just chuck parts of it in the dishwasher. It's wrong. It just feels wrong, and it's led on to other discussions. And there was a discussion by a woman called Victoria Brooks, who's a lecturer in law at the University of Westminster, and she said we need to change the way that we see sex robots. And writing for Next Web, I don't know what that is, but she was writing for them. She said, banning sex robots isn't an option, but we need to rethink our relationship between humans and robots. And she put, surely the fact that she is in human form makes her a surface on which human sexuality is projected and symbolic of a futuristic human sexuality. In other words, she wants to give rights to sex bots. What a dick.
Like, you don't have a right to decapitate your sex bot in mid-orgasm or something like that? Like, I mean, some people get off on that, and where are their rights? I mean, they should have the right to be able to decapitate a sex robot when they get off.
Exactly. I mean, until they got a consciousness, then maybe we can talk about that, because consciousness is a whole fucking it's a mindfuck. That's a 3-hour show on Joe Rogan. That is. But I mean, where's this go? Like, some people tear holes in teddy bears and fuck them. Like, does that teddy bear get a right as well? Oh my God.
Oh shit.
It's such a bizarre story, but this is news. It's there. It's out there. People are doing it. Like I said, this one guy, the British extension to whatever Sir Guy's business is, he was on TV, live TV, to a huge audience with his doll on the couch, as if it's some kind of relative or wife of his or something. I hope it's not relative, but then again, it could be. It could be like, this is my sister, and we're gonna go and have sex, and nobody would be like, what? You know what I mean? People are getting to work out the strangest fantasies, and I don't think that's normal.
Yeah, that's a tough subject, because I mean, you kind of want people to be able to have an outlet so that they don't physically affect, real people. But then again, you also have to address the underlying issues that cause people to have these fantasies.
Exactly.
So
And you
I
should,
could
you should be
see
working on them.
I could
not
see them being useful for like acute attacks when people, relapse, I guess you say. I guess you can call it that. But
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely need to have some sort of underlying framework to allow people to work through these issues that they don't need to act out on this creepy
Exactly.
shit.
You kind of, and I get that you're repressing. You're not repressing those impulses, but at the same time, you're not dealing with the issues that cause you to have those impulses. You're right, absolutely right.
Exactly. I mean, it's like people that have, sexual addictions and they, end up just leaning more heavily on the use of like porn. But then they get to the point where all they're doing is looking at porn all day. And they're not going out and, contracting STDs or passing on STDs. They're not fucking people. They're not playing with people's emotions, but they're still not working on the underlying issue. So all you're basically doing is replacing one addiction for another, or
Exactly.
one mental health issue for another mental health issue.
That's not right, is it? I'm just okay. So let's do one of your stories. What would you like to talk about? You sent me a couple of stories to talk about. We've done one from my side. Well, Sir Guy doesn't. I think he's in Barcelona. But that's one I've got. Let's do one of yours. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I think this is a good segue for my first article, and that is how to deal with orgasm anxiety.
What a great segue. Okay, so what is orgasm anxiety? What is this you brought to me?
So apparently people, and it seems like this is more of an issue for men than it is for women, is you will have sex and your sex will last for like hours because you've got this like fear of completion. And when I first read through this article, it was just like, okay, so is it orgasm anxiety, or are you just afraid to get the bitch pregnant?
I suppose. Oh no, this was a big thing in what was it, that 40 Days and 40 Nights? Is it the one with Josh Hartnett where he goes completely celibate for 40 days for Lent? And I think it's because he was having sex with girls, and as he was getting ready to to blow his load, the walls would start closing in, and he'd start hearing babies crying, and he'd get seriously sweaty and panic, and then just not be able to finish. Which is why he ended up doing this. I think they touched on that in that movie. That was a great movie as well. What happened to Josh Hartnett?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything from him.
I think he retired. Time. He just flat out just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
He did.
Retired. Like I read a thing about him before. Yeah.
Shit. Technical difficulties on my side there. Yeah, I think he pulled like a Dave Chappelle where he's, big and doing a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden he's gone and you don't hear anything from him for like 10 years, and then I bet you in a couple of months we'll probably see a Netflix special on him or something.
Let's hope not. Okay.
All right, so back to sexual anxiety or actually, no, it's not post-sex anxiety. It's not to be confused with post-sex anxiety. So one of the things that they talk about is people have these inabilities to connect, and they have this issue where they get scared of allowing themselves to be vulnerable, because I guess in our minds subconsciously, orgasm is a very personal experience for ourselves, and you got people out there that can't open themselves up to allow another person to witness them experience this very personal event, and it seriously fucks with people. Like, it destroys relationships.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's all about that, isn't it? That chemistry. I mean, what is a relationship without that kind of end product? It's nothing, is it?
I don't know.
That's a little giggle. The end product. That's the polite way of putting it, I suppose.
It's just, I think it goes hand in hand with people that they can't develop, they can't open themselves up to human interaction. And you probably find these people that have this issue that probably go to, fucking a robot.
Or there are genuinely people that would rather use fucking Pornhub or something like that and go to the bathroom than satisfy their wife. And you're probably right. That's probably the separation due to the anxieties of life and love and relationships. It's a deep dark circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's I feel for people like that, but what's the way out then? What do they say is the best way to kind of get away with this? Is there anything that they say?
So one of the things that they talk about is learning to be able to have a more verbal process to having sex and connecting with the person that you're having sex with.
Okay, because they do recommend like role play and stuff, don't they? Like failed marriages and things.
Yeah,
so that could.
Yeah. Role playing is a big thing, but just simply talking and giving each other feedback as you're fucking each other, letting your partner know if this is something that's making them feel comfortable, and so forth. And a guy has to be confident enough in themselves to be able to tell a woman, hey, this isn't working for me, please take the dildo out of my ass.
Can you tell your husband to stop staring at me in the corner, please? Oh God.
And this is oddly very personal. It's like, can you please have your dog stop licking my balls while I'm fucking you?
Oh, do you know what, right? New show anxiety. That's what we should talk about. I'm just throwing up an Insta now while we're doing this, and I've named the show wrong. I put the name the wrong way around. The Weekly Bazaar. There we go. The scent. That's really interesting, though. I mean, you don't think about these things when you're functioning normally, and you're worrying about the normal shit that people worry about. You don't think about the people that can't get intimate. That can't, and it must be. I mean, I know people in marriages are always like, "Oh, I never get laid. I'm married." Blah 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 blah. But what about people that just can't? Not that they don't want to, just can't. That must be so heartbreaking.
That's what sex robots are for.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant.
But another thing that they bring forth is, it's not always important to have orgasm. Just because you have sex doesn't mean sex has to end in orgasm. And you have to be comfortable with knowing that. You have to be able to concentrate on, the physical attachment that you're having with your partner, and really enjoy the sensory, experience, the simple pleasure of having sex. And once you can start to really kind of a lack of better term, once you can dive in balls deep into experiencing just the simple sensory extravaganza that sex can be, then you start to become comfortable to it, and your body starts to react to that in a way that will allow you to be relaxed and allow you to get over the fact that you're deathly afraid of this extremely attractive woman or man that you're having sex with see your orgasm face.
And ladies, if you need that kind of that closure and that relationship advice, and you have been affected on the comments mentioned on today's show, please call this number. Garrett, what's your number?
Fuck you.
Oh God.
I'm not whoring myself out. I promise I'd stop pouring myself out on podcasts. All I get is
I'm
bunch
gonna move on to
another.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Right, I'm gonna move on to another story now because we're gonna run out of time always. But I read this story today and it made me laugh. Okay, so you get all these people that buy vivariums and they buy snakes and they buy spiders and lizards and they think they're so fucking cool because they got dangerous shit in their house. Well, this guy, he's all he's got is a fish tank, right? He's got a fish tank which he's got corals and dangerous. They're not even dangerous. You look at coral and you think it's coral. It's spiky and it's horrible, but I won't touch it and more stuff. Okay, so whilst cleaning his fish tank, he accidentally released the second deadliest poison known to man, and his street had to be evacuated.
What the fuck?
I know. His name's Chris Matthews, and where does he live?
Chris Matthews. Wasn't he a Fox News anchor?
No, this is in Oxfordshire in the UK.
Okay.
Instead, so if you are listening from Fox, don't sue us. So Chris Matthews from Steventon in Oxfordshire, he was cleaning out his tank. His family of 6 started suffering flu-like symptoms and eye problems. And they called the firefighters. I don't know why they called the firefighter. I don't know. Like when you move a fish tank and you suddenly become ill, you don't go, I need the fire brigade.
Well, I could see maybe they thought it was like carbon monoxide poisoning or something.
Yeah, I suppose. And if he's bought these corals, I suggest he knows something about them. Otherwise, why buy them, right? So anyway,
you're giving people way too much credit, dude.
Yeah. Some of the fire brigade even started coming down, and the symptoms can get as bad as pneumonia. Pneumonia is a killer, right?
Yeah.
And
Jeremy Clarkson got pneumonia.
Jeremy Clarkson got pneumonia.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, he was in what's that island that you guys go to for your summer getaways?
Isle of Wight?
No. Majorca, I think it was.
Oh, Majorca.
Is that an island? I don't know.
Why was Jeremy Clarkson in Majorca? That shows how much Jeremy Clarkson is just not with it. He went to Majorca on holiday.
You don't know who Jeremy Clarkson is?
Yeah, I know Jeremy Clarkson is.
Okay, I was going to say, you're not a proper Brit. You don't know who Jeremy Clarkson is.
We'll kind of both love and hate Jackson at the same time. He's a great guy, but he doesn't give a shit, does he? Let's be honest. So anyway, they were moving this fish tank, cleaning it. They all started coming down with the flu, and that's when they decided to call in the emergency services. Ambulance, fire crews, police, everyone turns up to this guy's house. They had to cordon off the whole area. All 6 people in the house went to hospital with all these symptoms. The first firefighters at the scene. How embarrassing would it be to have this fish tank with the shit that you've bought just affect so many people? That's really bad, isn't it?
It's almost like this guy needs to get a Darwin Award or something.
I'm trying to find the name of the. It's called a pulsing xenia. A pulsing xenia coral. So, guys, if you're gonna go buy coral for your fish tanks, don't buy a pulsing xenia because apparently they give off a toxin that's the second most deadliest poison in the world.
So I'm trying to understand what was the mechanism that released this. Like, did it somehow become an aerosol? And
it's a polytoxin.
What was the catalyst?
I guess it was stressed. Is if you don't handle it carefully, taking the pulsing xenia out of water could make the toxin airborne. So I guess he's emptied his fish tank.
Okay.
The corals got stressed, and it's released the polytoxin into the air to try and defend itself. And it's nearly killed a whole street of people.
I mean, he's lucky it didn't do something like, release this toxin. The toxin then mutates once it hits the air and then causes the zombie apocalypse.
Exactly.
How fucking awesome would that be, though?
Imagine people turning into Rick and Morty style coral creatures just wandering around the street. So, here's my advice: if you're gonna buy exotic animals,
don't
read the small print first. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's commendable, I suppose, because at least he's got the balls and they know how to go and find these things. But he obviously wasn't paying attention, and nearly killed his whole family and members of the emergency. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's one of my stories, and let's move on to one of yours. One of them I am really interested in talking about, actually.
Which one?
the purple one.
The purple one. The purple. Oh, the research on magic mushrooms.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I love talking about this. Since seeing that Joe Rogan episode with I forget his name now, the scientist, the fungi guy. He went on and he did this amazing talk on fungi and mushrooms and what they do. This is right up my street. So yeah, what have you found out?
So one thing that I've noticed, and I read this in an article a long time ago. I can't cite it, and I'm sure our diligent listeners out there will probably take the time to do their own research. But the FDA recently approved clinical trials for the use of MDMA as a psychoactive drug for psychological pharmaceuticals to treat anything from what is it? I think psychotic episodes, to treat psychotic episodes for people that have like schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder or what have you. And there's also a push to find more natural methods of being able to treat these illnesses, if you will. And there's always been a history of using psychoactive drugs in the psychological field since the beginning, since Freudian days. I mean, Freud used to trip off of acid so that he could be more attuned to his patients and what have you.
Yeah.
And I just find it funny that you have this. From my whole look on this was that you have this push, particularly in the U.S., to have this war on drugs, and we treat certain drugs that as the absolute number one enemy, number one enemy of civilized culture. And
it reminds me of that scene at the beginning of Pineapple Express. When you got what's his name, Bill Hader or whatever his name is. He's toking on the joint at the beginning, and he's just tripping balls, and they're just like, it's illegal at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So you got this huge war on marijuana, and luckily, the U.S. is finally starting to get to a point where that is being a little bit more accepted, but it's still very difficult to study the medicinal purposes of marijuana, because federally it's still classified as a Schedule I controlled substance, which means it has, according to the federal government, has no medical value. Whereas you got things like cocaine and heroin are scheduled at lower class level of drugs because they, in the government's eyes, they have some sort of medical value. And then you have MDMA, which literally turns your brain into Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I've seen people on MDMA. It's not nice.
I've taken ecstasy once in my life, and it was the scariest fucking 24 hours I have ever experienced. I've never
done ecstasy. Like, I was always taught to like, I used to smoke a lot of weed. I've always been honest about that. I bought like hallucinogens, cocaine, anything that doesn't seem natural, just stay away from. So I just naturally have.
And so now you've got this push to use something like magic mushrooms to treat people with psychological disorders, or to use them in therapy to expand their minds so that it can be used as a tool within a therapeutic counseling session to allow a patient to be more open and to explore things that they might otherwise, what's the word?
Not venture down, not have the balls to talk about. Yeah,
exactly.
And that sounds feasible. That when you discuss it like that, it sounds. But I mean, if you do it in a way that it's issued and it's sensible, then that's fine. I mean, someone doing like a whole baggy and tripping balls and sitting naked under a chair, sweating the fucking like rocking back into, like, that would be a disaster. And you even got university students that microdose with MDMA or with magic mushrooms. They'll take a small amount of mushrooms. enough to get them buzzed and psyched, and then they'll just blast through the work, and they'll have that kind of inspiration to get through it all.
Yeah.
That seems to work. I know obviously people probably get too used to it, and enter down Alice's rabbit hole. But yeah, that sounds really interesting. I love this kind of talk because, like we've heard so many times, like magic mushrooms, or the benefits of them are very, very shortly documented. They haven't ventured down everything yet, so I'm glad they're doing these experiments.
I'm glad they're doing these experiments because I'm glad they're trying to find natural. I don't know. It's weird. Ever since I've been, I feel like ever since I've been hanging around hippies, it started to affect my my worldview, if you will.
Yeah.
And I've really start to see and understand the importance of using things that are naturally occurring in this world that can be used to substitute some of these really harmful drugs that we develop synthetically to treat some of these disorders that are extremely debilitating to our society.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like this crazy zombie drug that's going around America at the moment is just ridiculous. There's some of the videos you see from people taking that. Crazy. There's that. I don't know if that was America or sorry, go on.
Are you talking about bath salts?
I don't know. There's that drug that people are taking. There's a woman lying in a police flatbed, and she just looks like something from The Walking Dead. She's trying to crawl out, and then she changed her mind, and she's gurning her face off. Her arms are moving involuntary, and there's what, in North Wales, just as an example, it's going on everywhere. I don't mean to slam North Wales, but there's been a huge increase of people taking these drugs. I think they were legal highs, now they're obviously like no, and people are just like rolling around on the street and swaying around and swinging their arms about when they've taken these drugs, and they're a danger to themselves, to everyone else, and it's not nice to see either, and that's what I mean. Like these are the chemical fucking cocktails that people are throwing in the body, and they don't know what they're doing. So like with these experiments with mushrooms, MDMA, and all these kind of things, they need to happen, and they need to happen now, because if there is a cure there for say depression or split personality or even Alzheimer's, it needs to be ventured down, and we can't be too scared to do it. So This is all good news. It's music to my ears, absolute music, especially from a guy who I work with people that do have split personality disorders. I'd love there to be some sort of cure for them, because it does break your heart at times when you see someone who's so bright and so funny and such a nice person just become destroyed by the journey they go down or the help they're not getting. So this is great news. Good story.
It's good shit, man.
And moving from medical and advances to technological advances. Now, this one scared the shit out of me. Okay, so everybody's heard of Alexa and Siri and S-Voice, whatever shit you've got going on, all these voice AIs. Well, the guys at MIT, this is the one I was like, this is actually American, but it's a great story. The guys at MIT have developed a thing called Alter Ego. Now, Alter Ego is a headset you wear, right? And it's very strange to look at. It's like, it's not an earpiece as such. It goes round the back of your ear, along your jaw, and it attaches underneath your mouth. And what it does is it uses vibrations from your skull to pick out what it does. You can make commands to this thing without saying a thing. So what it does is it picks up things, messages from your brain for what you want to say before you said it. And I've just watched a video. I don't know if this is a hoax. It doesn't look like it. I don't know. But there's this guy wandering around, and he just thinks the word time as he's walking, and it tells him the time. He's going around a store, and he's like adding things up. He looks at the number. This headset remembers the number, and then he'll go around the store and look at another thing, and it remembers that number. And then at the end, he goes to the store, and it's added all his shopping up. And he can text, you can talk. It's really fucking weird. There's a guy, he's sat looking at like Netflix or something, and he's thinking the word right and it goes right, and he's thinking the word down and it goes down. It's basically reading his fucking mind.
That, yeah, that's both scary and exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting, you know.
But it's scary that.
Can you imagine, like, if you make cheating on your missus so much easier? I mean, if you're going to do that kind of thing, that sounded really bad. But like, say you find out, I'll be like, "Hi, welcome to the weekly
Freudian
bazaar,
slip.
and I'm now single." Just leaving me, man. No, you could like text some other girl without even talking or texting. You could just be like, "Hey, baby, what's up?" I'm not having any trouble climaxing anymore. We should give it another go.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. What's scary about that is it's with the explosion of this always connected movement that our society has been going. I'd say in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I feel like
it can be hard not to separate from yourself.
Yeah, you'll never leave. You'll never leave this. I'm.
Do you know what? I've just thought of a way that all of these stories today can be completely connected. You could take a bag of mushrooms with your sex doll because you're struggling to climax, and then you can use this headset to tell it what you want to do.
Oh, and then wait until we get into my third fucking article. But yeah, it scares me because I see people walking around. I work at a university, and I constantly see these kids. Like 80% of them are walking around completely unaware of their surroundings, completely engrossed in their little fucking smartphone. And if you give people the ability to just have like a direct mental connection, it's like giving a child molester a child sex doll.
Yeah. And could you imagine like having a conversation with someone, they're looking at you, but they're not hearing a word you're saying. They're just like thinking about what they're going to have for tea, and they're making a shopping list.
What's funny is I already kind of do that because I've got hearing aids.
Oh, right, yeah.
And my hearing aids connect to my phone through Bluetooth and can be used as a headphone or headphones. So I can be listening to podcasts or music or something on my phone, have my phone put away, and somebody can be having a conversation with me, and I'm just listening to the podcast and just kind of like pretending that I'm listening to them.
I'm glad you told me that. Can you imagine, like, when you do eventually come over here, I'll be like, "Hey, Garrett, how's it going? It's been a long time I haven't seen you." And you're just like, "Yeah, hold on, fatty."
Yeah, it's funny.
This is exciting. I mean, it is. It's a technological advance, and like,
yeah, and the nerd in me really wants to see this, get developed and brought out because you can do so much. I mean, just think of if you can think of a text, and if you can have some sort of interface with your brains that you can just think of a text message that you can send to a friend. Just think of that application used in prosthetics.
Oh yeah, of course. And they're already doing that, aren't they? I mean, those really nice prosthetics that they're making at the moment, they're amazing. But like, could you imagine the guy at MIT that's like, "Oh, bro, I need to text my mom and I just can't be bothered. If only there was a way I could text her without moving my thumbs, man." And he's just like, "Oh, we could do this."
See, to that, I mean, you almost don't want that technology coming to the U.S. because the U.S. is already one of the most overweight populations in the world. That's going to do nothing to help alleviate that problem.
Once we lose our posable thumbs, that's it, man. Yep. We're done.
We're fucked. That's the end of, that's the end of us as we know it. We might as well, you guys might as well come back over and reabsorb us and hopefully put us back into our places,
I think Putin's going to do that for us. I'm joking. Okay, so on to our last story of the evening then. Take it away, Garrett.
All right. So this is something that as I become more engrossed in the youthful culture, I become more aware of it, specifically also as I have gotten back into the dating market. I I remember there was a time when you can go on Match.com and you had two options: are you gay or are you straight?
Yeah,
Those were the options.
sounds about right. Or bi. Because
I found a article in Women's Health that gives 19 different ways of identifying your sexual preference.
wow,
19.
that's crazy. I could probably think of a few. There are a few that I kind of agree with at the moment. Like, so you got gay man, gay woman, bisexual, and then there's pansexual, isn't there? Where you kind of one day you're gay, next minute you're not, and then there's trans. That's right. That's all of them. That's like the five that I was associated with.
You have the LGBTQ, and I remember when it was just LGB.
Yeah.
Lesbian, lesbian,
Bi.
gay, bi, LGB.
Trans.
And then trans came a thing. You added a T, and then you added queer or questioning after that, which is the Q. And the queer is the one where you're just kind of androgynous in your sexual preference. But I look at this article and I open it up, and then there's this quote from this clinical psychologist. Her name's Elizabeth Watt, and she's a therapist, a certified sex therapist in Bellingham, Washington. And she's quoted as saying, "It's beautiful that so many new labels and descriptors are emerging around sexuality and gender because it highlights how unique, complex, and innovative sexual and gender expression can be." And that just sounds like a whole lot of fluff to me. I don't know. It just...
Why do we need so many labels for things? Why do we need a label at all?
Yeah.
Why can't you just be you? Just get on with it.
Exactly.
If you want to suck a dick every now and again, that's fine. Just crack on. You know, you don't need to, like, I don't know.
So it's
genders as well that's kind of getting me, because like I get the trans thing, I get that totally. Or, you know, so you're a man, you're a woman, or you're trans, and that should be it, really, shouldn't it?
So yeah, exactly. But they're trying to add like really like super like stupidly like semantic. It's all semantics, but they're trying to be so damn specific into what is the thing that gets you off that it just, I don't know, it becomes everybody's got to be part of a club, I think, is what they want. And we're just
I get that.
I don't know. So you have a label and they all have their own little symbols. Like before it was just the man symbol and the woman symbol, and now you have all these weird symbols that come off of that. And
they got all their own color flags now.
Exactly. But you have this thing called intersex. Now to me, and I'm going to read what the definition of an intersex is.
Okay.
Sometimes you might see an I added to the end of the LGBTQ. And that I is represented by intersex, a term that refers to a combination of hormones, sex organs, genitals, chromosomes that are different from the two patterns of male and female. The former term for this was hermaphrodite. This is a fucking physical description of a person. This is not a sexual orientation. You are physically both. You don't identify as this. You either are or you aren't. There's no need for this. Use the fucking term hermaphrodite. That's what you are. That's the clinical term for having more than one physical sexual
thing. organ
or chromosomes or whatever.
That's crazy. Could you like have both and be like, nope, I don't identify with the vagina in me. You know, you can't. That is what you are. You know.
Yeah, and fucking own it, but don't fucking feel like you have to start a club around it. And that's what I feel like all of these terms, added terms to describe a human sexuality, is just the ability for people to start clubs.
And you know what?
Used to divide.
Yes, that's a good point.
And that's what's funny is they're trying to develop all these terms to help unite, but all it does is divide, because it puts people in these little boxes, and these little boxes have borders. And once you're in a box, you're damned if you try to fucking get out of that box.
Yeah, it's a strange world now because they are just looking, aren't they? They're looking for a new one. You know, they're not happy. People aren't happy with what they are, and they're looking for something else to label themselves. And I mean, you are who you are. You know, if you're gay, straight, bi, you're lesbian, whatever. I'm happy for you. Like, do you like is it Marlon Wayans says, do you, like, you know, be you, but don't go looking for something else. This is a really like tough subject because we can either get some positive views on this or some negative, you know.
Oh, I know.
But you know,
this is definitely
do what you want to do. Be proud of who you are, and you know, I'm proud of you too.
Yeah. And then you have another one, and I'm going to point. This one's just. It just sounds like it's a means of excusing unhealthy relationships.
Okay.
This term's called aromantic.
Isn't that a type of duck?
AROMANTIC.
That's a duck, isn't it? Aromatic duck.
This term describes someone who doesn't feel romantic attraction or a desire for romance. They can be fulfilled by friendships and other non-romantic relationships.
Isn't that a nymphomaniac? That's what they used to call it.
A nymphomaniac is somebody that wants to fuck all the time.
But I thought it's because they were never satisfied.
Yeah, they're constantly trying to get satisfied. But no, this one is that they just can't have romantic relationships. There's something broken in their head that doesn't allow them to romantically connect with somebody. And in history, that is something that you go to see a counselor for.
And that labels a few of my exes as well. Back in the day.
And then this next one that I'm going to bring up is something that I see I can't even, it's amazing how many people identify as this in dating sites. And this is just to excuse non-committal fucking. Polyamorous.
Yeah. Polyamorous.
Being amorous, come on, speak. Being polyamorous means you want to have consensual, non-monogamous relationships. Or relationships with multiple people. It means you want to fuck a lot and a bunch of different people.
So you can get
it's an excuse.
It's swingers, isn't it? That's like
it's an excuse to have unhealthy relationships with people.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
Bizarre. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, we've all ventured down the porn route. We all know what swingers are and what they do, and you see a lot of it. But you know, that seems fine if you want to do that. Then maybe that's just a way of saying swingers and people that do that are polyamorous. You know, you can have people that are happily married and be swingers and do that kind of thing and stay happily married for the rest of their lives. Do polyamorous people fall into that category, or are they people that just can't be with people as well? Do you know?
I think it really needs to be looked at. And I'm not hating on this because I have some sort of like prudish, religious, a relationship has to be between a man and a woman. Fuck that.
Imagine them talking about this in the 70s or something. Fuck no, you ain't polyamorous. You just a slut, bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
It wouldn't fly.
Exactly.
It wouldn't fly.
It just, I don't know. It just seems like it's like a lack of maturity and impulse control almost. That people are trying to find excuses to not have some sort of discipline in their life.
Yeah.
Or have some sort of loyalty in their life.
Maybe it's an attention grab for some people. Maybe, possibly. Yeah. They're going for that phase of, look at me, I'm different, which is relatable when you're young, I suppose. But it's very fucking extreme,
Yeah. And then you have things like androsexual or gynosexual, which means you're either attracted to masculine people, whether they be masculine, like a guy could be androsexual if they're attracted to masculine men or masculine women. Gynosexual is somebody that's attracted to effeminate men or effeminate women. I feel like some of these terms are also
are these Are these just old things that people were repackaged and relabeled? Like I said about the polyamorous, or whatever, it's polyamorous, right? They were swingers, like people called them swingers back in the day. Now they're just like, it's repackaged in a way that doesn't sound so sordid. You know, we're not swingers, we're polyamorous. Actually, I think you'll find.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you have people that want to be called pansexual or omnisexual. You're fucking bisexual, dude. Why?
Just because you don't feel like cock today doesn't mean you ain't bisexual, buddy.
Yeah.
or a bit of pussy if you're a woman. You know, let's be equal out there. And yeah, I mean, it's a great conversation to have. I just wish we had a couple of hours to. I'd love to delve into these subjects and sit there for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And we could bash out magic mushrooms, and we could bash out. No, it's not the way to put it. But we could talk about these subjects in great depth. But we're very limited on time today. So I mean, that was a great first episode, though. I really enjoyed it.
I think so too. I enjoyed my time with you.
I always enjoy time with you.
I think I might be experiencing some sort of latent pansexual desire for you.
I'm just thinking about Samantha the sex doll. On that note, I better go. I'm coming, Samantha.
And I am off.
Well, thank you guys for joining. We're going to bring this to you every week. I'm not sure when this is going to be released. When it's released, you're going to hear me saying this, and it's not when we've recorded, but when it becomes a regular thing, we'll get some more graphics, and we'll get a regular rhythm on the show. But you know, it's a great venture to get out there, get the first one done, isn't it?
This was a nice little test episode.
Yes,
I think it worked out right, and I think we've got a good idea of how to move it forward. If you will.
Well, I'm gonna go and Google some of these new sexualities and see what I can find on Pornhub. And I will catch you, my good friend, next week. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I've been Al,
and I've been Garrett.
And thank you very much. See you next week.
Have a good one.